Happy holidays to everyone. December 29th. I can't believe it. 2025 is almost over. For those of you who don't know me, I think most of you do, though I know we do have some new people joining the community. I'm Christy Hugic. I am an integrative health practitioner, level 3. I am also a certified international health coach and also an integrative nutrition health coach. So, just so you know why we're here in the first place, the goal is that in my free online community, I am going to do one of these per month, and you can help me choose the topic. So if someone has a topic that they're interested in, I'm more than happy to put together a presentation on that. I'm going to try to keep these, they're definitely going to be less than an hour, and some of them I'm going to try to keep to a half hour. It really just depends on the questions that you might have. I'm going to keep it as simple as I can. But for the first month, I chose something that I know is so impactful. I chose the topic of why advanced blood markers matter. And this is a big deal to me because I saw firsthand the difference. I'm going to share my screen. And yes, I'm sharing the ugliness of the screen. This is not about like neat presentations for me. This is about the easiest way to show you these slides. But this is near and dear to my heart because I saw this firsthand. I went through this when I got diagnosed with autoimmune disease, and I mean countless labs, sets of labs done where markers would pretty much be the same, the old comprehensive metabolic panel, the old CBC differential. Every once in a while, some new ones were thrown in there if I went to a specialist that maybe they dealt with, and every single time it was, this looks great, and I don't see anything wrong with you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. The good news is there's good news and bad news. The bad news is most doctors won't run these advanced labs. The good news is there's so many ways to get these advanced lab markers now. And so that's the great news, and why I'm kind of introducing this to you. I'm going to use Function Health as my barometer and my example that I'm going to show you today, but there are other companies. The reason why I like Function Health is just because there's more markers. So I think they probably do it the best, and they also do their post analysis is pretty cool. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like today. So you will be blown away when you start to see the difference between what is done conventionally and what is done with advanced testing. So what are the reasons for advanced testing in the first place? Early detection is needed in this day and age with the way things are. We have a higher toxic burden than we have ever had right now. And that is just facts. And people may think it's fear mongering. They may not feel like it's realistic. But the truth of the matter is, it is. This is exactly what's going on. And that toxic burden can come from air, water, food. Those are the three big ones. And that's really one of the biggest is those three things that we're consuming all the time. We need food, we need air, we need water every single day. Those three things have enough contaminants in them alone to give us problems. But then you throw in mold, and you throw in there heavy metals, and you throw in there what's in our day-to-day products and cleaning products, and it's a deluge. And so we talk about a bucket. Everybody's got a bucket. What goes into everybody's bucket is different. How full everyone's bucket is different. What tips the bucket is different. And then when the bucket tips, what are your genetics? Because that is when the genetics are going to come out. So what may express itself as heart disease in someone else may express as autoimmune disease in another person. And there's an increase in all diseases overall. And the fact is, like I said earlier, these standard markers, they're lacking. If something's showing up on those standard panels, your problems are well down the road. Well down the road, like meaning you've been dealing with them for years and years and years, and you still may not see them. Liver markers stand out in my mind as a big one where we just don't see liver markers off until there's really, really something going on well down the road. Prevention is another reason, because that is a big deal in this day and age. We have the ability to take part in prevention and look at root causes and stop things in their tracks. And also the difference in thriving versus surviving. I talk about this a lot. It shouldn't be a chore to get through every single day, right? We like to live longer, die shorter. That's what I always say. Live longer, die shorter. And to do that, we shouldn't feel crummy every single day. So we talk about thriving versus surviving. And that's why, like, people think health coaching is just for the people that are really, really sick. And that's just not true because health coaches can also help people thrive in their day to day. So I see type A people who are doing really, really well in life. They're doing really, really well in business. These CEOs are very, very successful. And I also see athletes at the professional level, and they're really successful. And you know what? They need to work on these things. Everybody thinks they're different, these high performers, but really there are some simple steps that sometimes they're missing too. And we just want to correct imbalances. I would venture to say that any person who watches this, if I ran these labs on you, or if I saw your labs from a functional standpoint, I would find something. There's no doubt in my mind because there's always some imbalance in the way the pendulum is swinging. And then it's a question of how imbalanced is it? How much do we need to address it? And what do we need to do to correct it? And these just aren't going to come from CBC, differential metabolic panels. And it's just not, we're using these to name, blame, and tame things. It's not accurate. And the ones that are going to stand out to you are thyroid issues and also heart disease. Those are two of the ones I plucked out that you can really see the difference in. So the other thing about the markers that are conventional is you're not looking at enough at the same time. So a lot of times I'll have clients and they'll give me their blood work and they've had all these labs run. And a lot of times these are the people that have autoimmune. They'll go to a specialist, they run a few labs. They go to another specialist, they run a few labs. They never run the same markers in full on the same day, and we never get to look at enough at the same time to understand really how the body is working together. The body is a system. No marker works in isolation. No marker works in isolation. That's why I tell people if you have one marker that's off, don't freak out because unless there's other things off with it, usually it's not a huge red flag as much as it is when you see multiple markers off in multiple systems in the body. And then the last thing is conventional markers. They confirm disease, not detect early issues and imbalances. So that's kind of what I was saying. So when people are told everything looks fine, what that often means is nothing has crossed the diagnostic threshold yet with a conventional doctor. My standard labs, this is just my story here. Countless blood workups all looked great. They really did. Eventually, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in January of 2017. But prior to that, the medicine that was tried to prescribe to me was, you have anxiety, you need a sleeping pill. I was like, yeah, I do have anxiety because I know something's wrong and you can't tell me what it is. And that's from running from doctor to doctor to doctor at 6 months to diagnose. And I will tell you, I will never complain about 6 months to diagnose. 6 months because I was super persistent and super insistent on something is not right. We need to figure out what it is. I have seen other people. I've spoken at many MS support groups. I've spoken at these groups, and these people, it took years to diagnose. And that shouldn't be the case, because they felt unwell for so long. What in the world would take years to diagnose? We're taking years to give a diagnosis, but not doing anything to fix the root cause of the problem. So I dealt with this hand in hand. And then when I got to my functional labs, a much, much different story. So when I got treated by Dr. Will Cole, we saw viral reactivation. We saw high inflammatory markers. We saw lipid issues. And I'm talking about, this is not cholesterol, total cholesterol, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, triglycerides. We're talking well beyond that. There are lipid issues. There are still lipid issues that I deal with. And that's a genetic issue in my family. So I have to pay attention to that. So iron issues. We saw iron issues. My body wasn't utilizing iron properly. My immune system was clearly overloaded when I saw all the immune markers. When I ran my functional labs, which will do a different Zoom about the labs that we run as an integrative health practitioner, I have the ability to run other labs besides blood markers. That's another Zoom for another day. We'll talk about that at a different time. But those labs showed mold exposure. They showed gut dysbiosis. When I can already tell you, if you have autoimmune, you have a gut issue. There is no doubt about it. 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. You have a gut issue. But what doctor tells you that when you go there? I was trying to remember like my initial conversation when I was diagnosed. Was that ever brought up? I swear the only thing non-conventional that didn't deal with a drug was that someone told me apple cider vinegar would be good. That was about the only thing I got that was a quote unquote holistic thing to do. So there's so many things that can be done. There's so many, we always have to ask why these things are happening in the first place. Okay. And the why, quite honestly, is that if you get to the autoimmune standpoint, every system in the body is going to be affected. It just is. But for me, you're you saw the immune system overload going on, and I just on the right here, this is like an EBV antibody profile, and most of us do have EBV virus. We have had it at some point in our lives. It's kind of a not surprising to see it, but when it gets reactivated over and over again, that's a problem. That's an immune system problem. And this marker here shows that I've had it, but also shows it was recently reactivated. And sometimes that's from the mold. It's definitely got a factor from the dysbiosis. And that is a vicious cycle to get in when that viral reactivation keeps happening, because then you're in the autoimmune spiral of, oh my God, what's wrong? I got to go fix it, right? You're in that making it react and then fix. If you don't fix the root of the problem, this is going to be a vicious spiral. Okay. So then the next thing is, when you go to your doctor, what might happen if you were to go and ask for these labs? There'll be a refusal to run advanced markers. I say this with all due respect, you guys. I'm not trying to disparage Western medicine. Look, if you're having a heart attack, you want to go to a Western medicine doctor. You're not going to come to one of us or to a functional diagnostic, practitioner. You're going to go to the hospital. They're going to save your life. But there is a resistance to running these markers. I deal with it all the time. My normal PCP that I had, who I think is a pretty nice guy and a pretty smart doctor, and actually probably allows for more non-conventional thinking than most, refused to run my functional markers for me. Even though I had the labs, he doesn't even want to look at them. So if you're feeling unwell and they're just giving you the standard markers, they're going to tell you everything's fine. Sometimes when you ask for these markers or you show them labs, maybe you have this run, they don't know how to read the markers. You're like, how can you know more than a medical doctor? I wouldn't say I know more. I just think differently. That's how I would describe it. Okay. We look at things different where, when you go to a specialist, they're looking at their area of specialty in isolation. And quite honestly, because of insurance, they can't look at anything else. That's just how it is. The system is broken in the first place. It's not their fault. That's the system they were taught under. And then a lot of times they don't know how to code it for insurance purposes. And so someone gets hit with a bill for the full cost of a marker. That's not fun either. Gaslighting and possibly not acknowledging symptoms happens all the time. I see it all the time. And then you're probably going to get handed some prescription to try to make you feel better. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of those happen. Now, let's look side by side. Standard labs versus advanced. Standard labs, limited markers, okay? Wide reference ranges. When I talk about ranges, those reference ranges that they're telling you you're in the good, those are averages of a bunch of sick people. Who are the people that go get their blood work done the most? People who feel unwell. Those are averages, and it depends on the lab. The ranges can be different depending on the lab. So in functional, we look at optimal. We try to look at the optimal levels. We want to know not what's just there to keep us alive. Again, we want to know what's needed for the marker for us to thrive. So sometimes you're like, oh, they're in the range. Vitamin D is a good example. Somebody will be at 35 in vitamin D and it's in range. And you're like, I don't want anyone's vitamin D to be 35. That's not good enough. I want vitamin D up in the mid to high 60s and 70s. I want it up there. So that's a good example. Everything they do in standard is insurance driven. They often wait until values are clearly abnormal to do anything. I wrote insurance driven twice because it's that big of a deal. I wrote both of those twice, so apparently I thought it was a big deal. Let's correct that right now. See, this is when we can do it on this screen. I can correct it right on the fly. There we go. On the advanced labs, they're broader labs. That means broader labs, more labs, but more specific markers. Optimal and trend-based ranges means that it's responding to what's going on. What are the trends? So the optimal ranges do change here and there based on new research. So they're always evolving them. Advanced is much better at preventative care. It will identify risks earlier, and it will focus on patterns, not just numbers. So that's really, really important. Again, the pattern is looking at all the labs together. So that is a big, big deal. Now, advanced markers, more on them. They will help us spot those early imbalances, slow or reverse a progression, and make informed lifestyle changes sooner. So cardiovascular disease, thyroid dysfunction, metabolic dysfunction, autoimmune disease, they don't start overnight. Those are long-term built-up issues. So that might be quiet, but is it really? Because how long have you felt unwell and awry? So I could feel like, oh my God, like I woke up one day in 2016 and I had all these symptoms, and like, where did this autoimmune disease come from? It came out of the blue, or did it? When I go back and I look at some of the issues that were going on years prior, I absolutely can see where the issues started. Physically, mentally, trauma-wise, which always has a factor in autoimmune, I can see all of it. I know where it came from. I now understand the why it happened. So then my next job becomes, how can I fix it, stop it in its tracks, right? So on the right, you're going to see a marker that we're going to talk about in a little while that's really big when it comes to cardiac risk. ApoB. ApoB is apolipoprotein B. This marker is really important because this can really show you if you have plaque-forming cholesterol particles going around in the blood. And for me, I'll see this number go up quite a bit in women in menopause. And the body is suddenly making more of these plaque-forming particles. And yes, it requires some dietary changes. I know for me, like I've got to change some things because genetically this is a thing for my family. But you know how many people aren't privy to this information and don't understand, how do I truly look at my cholesterol numbers and assess the risk? So I'm going to go into a little bit more on that in a bit. I'm going to look at thyroid first, okay? I'm going to show you the difference in how you look at this through your conventional doctor versus how an advanced lab markers would look at thyroid. There are two markers that maybe you'll get free T4. Every once in a while, you'll get a T3, a T4, or maybe a free T4. I very rarely actually see T3, T4. When we run them with Dr. Cole, I believe there were 12 markers altogether. So you can have reverse T3, reverse T4, but look at the advanced TSH, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, and the antibodies are really big because that's big for the autoimmune component. So when you look at this, is on the left, that's going to miss conversion. We can't tell what's being converted. We can't see autoimmune activity. And we can't see what's going on at the cellular level with thyroid hormones. On the right, on the left, you can have numbers that are normal. Oh, your thyroid looks normal, but yet the person still has symptoms. So on the advanced side, what are we looking at? We're going to know if thyroid hormone is being produced. We're going to know if it's being converted properly, and we're going to know if autoimmunity is present. Big difference in what you see. If you look at this, common thyroid symptoms with normal labs, and I see this all the time. Thyroid problems are a thing. Fatigue, weight changes, cold intolerance, anxiety or depression, hair thinning, brain fog, constipation. What else will I see with thyroid symptoms too with normal labs? Cholesterol's not clearing. And so some of those lipid panel markers will be in conjunction with the thyroid not clearing the cholesterol, because they all work together. That's what I'm saying. The body is a system. None of these things work independently. Someone will ask, well, will this affect this? The answer is yes. It could. Anything could affect anything for the most part. Okay. Now, let's look at heart health, because this is one of my favorite ones to talk about. And when I say favorite, I'm saying that kind of sarcastically, because it is that we'll get the standard heart health markers are total cholesterol, HDL, LDL triglycerides. So we get the total amount of cholesterol, which they will tell you is it's bad if it's over 200. We demonize cholesterol. The body needs cholesterol. The problem is not the cholesterol. The problem is what type of cholesterol, what are the particles made up of, what is the pattern of that? And that is we put all of this together to assess the true risk for heart disease. It's not one marker, it's not two markers, it's all of the markers together. There are 15 total markers looking at heart health alone on Function Health Labs. 15. There are four, and we're prescribing statins based on those four things. So someone can also, by the way, have the other side of this, where their cholesterol markers look good. Those four on the left don't look so bad. But when they get into what's on the right and in the advanced, we see a different story. Nobody, or not many, I would say, have gone to their PCP and had a conversation with them about particle size, pattern, lipoprotein A, and ApoB. I guarantee you they haven't come up. And then the the highly sensitive C-reactive protein, which is HSCRP, that's important to look at too, because that's a big inflammatory marker. If all those numbers are high and out of range, which that's me right now, that's what I have to deal with. When all those numbers are high, we have to take it seriously. We have to look at it. Even though if you look at my numbers on the left, they're not that bad. But my genetics and what we have to deal with when we're lower on hormones, the right doesn't look so good. So there's a huge, huge difference. This alone here does not predict cardiovascular risk. It doesn't. If you've been told that or that's how you feel, it's just not the case. It just isn't. There's plenty of people that have had cholesterol in the 160s and had heart attacks. So if this were the case, then people at 160 wouldn't have heart attacks. Heart attacks are about forming plaque and about inflammation. They're about blood flow. They're about circulation. All of those things go into what's going on in the body that suddenly puts us into the state where we would have a stroke, a heart attack, or all of these things. So advanced lipid panels, if you're trying to order them or ask your doctor for them, if you go to LabCorp, it would be an NMR lipid profile, lipid panel. At Quest, it's called Cardiac IQ. If you are trying to do these separately. Now, markers for early heart risk detection. Here are what the true markers are that you would want to look at. The ApoB, the particle number, the LDL particle size and number. So the number of bad cholesterol that's floating around and how big are they? Big, light and fluffy, not a problem. Small and dense, we got a problem. Okay? If you have, and this is why the blood sugar reset works so well. The blood sugar reset works well to normalize all of this because this is also connected to your metabolic health. Your fasting insulin matters, your HbA1c, and your glucose all matter in this for heart disease. If you've got fasting insulin that's high and A1C that's high or trending toward diabetic, you've got more risk for heart disease. The HSCRP is high and that inflammation is high, that is ripe for a heart attack. Triglyceride ratio to HDL, that's important too, and we rarely look at that. Insulin resistance happens before diabetes, inflammation drives risk, and cardiovascular risk years later. So I think that advanced labs will tell that story. They really will tell that story. So for me, I get excited that someone has this accessibility to run this because there's so many people on statins for years. And the statins deplete CoQ10, which what does that help? Heart. So it's an interesting dynamic. But it also depletes magnesium severely, and magnesium helps with blood flow. So there's a trade-off there that I don't know is worth it. And if you're on a statin and you don't need to be on a statin, why would you want to be on one? Also, if you're on a statin, you would want to replace those minerals that it's depleting so that you make sure you're maintaining what you need to have a healthy heart. Now, good news. Advanced labs are now more accessible. No insurance approval is required. No doctor is really gatekeeping this. Often it's a fraction of traditional cost. I say that because When I get my blood markers run through Dr. Cole, are about 18 vials of blood to get everything run. And I would say he runs a few different markers than what Function runs, but roundabout, it would cost me $400 for my blood work, one round, one round. And then the second time around, if I did it in the same year, let's say I ran it every 6 months, which I didn't because it costs so much. But let's say I ran it every 6 months and I was over my deductible, it's still going to cost me a couple $100. So we're talking like almost $600. Whereas one Function Health cost for a year membership is $365, and you're running the labs twice. So not you get to see here's the problems, here are the things you need to work on, and then you get to rerun it in 6 months to see if what you're doing is helping. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I really love that this is available. So some of the places you can get this, again, Function Health is my choice just because I think it's got more, but Whoop, Aura, all the tracking devices and memberships now are giving you the ability to run these advanced labs. Whoop, Aura levels, they just don't have as many markers as Function. So I like Function, but the one thing I would say about Function Health I really don't like is that they do not run progesterone, which blows my mind because progesterone is a big deal. Why would I ever want to see estradiol and not see progesterone? Because that is a big problem for many, many females who are cycling. The estrogen will be higher than the progesterone, which is not the ratio you want. That even though the estrogen is in range, you can still be estrogen dominant. So that's the one thing I do not like about Function Health Labs. And I have inquired to them why they even do that. But that is the one thing I would say is not exactly ideal. On the right, you see what it looks like. There's 100 and looks like 100. It says 114 biomarkers. And then they give you your biological age, which is nice to look at too, and that's based on your habits. When you fill out on the left, you see this thing, you can fill out a really deep health history. When you fill out that health history deep and you then get the markers run, the clinician puts together the markers with the health history, with the family risk, and you get a really succinct clinician note at the end of it. Now, here's the features you get with Function Health. 2 tests in 1 year, 160 biomarkers. They will list your top 5 supplements. They will list foods to add and avoid. I was just seeing that they added a free year of Thrive Market subscription, which I think is fantastic because that helps you get healthier food into your house. AI generated protocols, which I'll show you this in a second too. You'll see all this. Full clinician analysis report, comprehensive explanations of every marker. So you can hover on every marker, see what that marker means, and you will also be able to see an explanation of what it means if that marker is high or low and in context with your other markers. That's fantastic. And a lot of doctors can't do that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to share a Function Health screen. You're going to see, let me just pull up biomarkers here on Function. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to share my screen, a different screen. I'm going to show you what Function Labs look like. All right, so here we go. This is actually a really good example. You can see here, 84, it'll tell you how many markers are in range, how many markers are not. This is a classic pattern, what we're looking at here, of someone who has low-grade autoimmune activity going on, low-grade inflammation that isn't manifesting into a quote-unquote autoimmune disease. So people would see these autoimmune markers and say, oh my gosh, I have autoimmune disease. But actually, when you look at the numbers and you go through here, you will see them. You will see that they will quell that fear and tell you that this is just something you need to keep an eye on. Because there is low-grade inflammation going on in the body. So if you can see here, you can hover over it and you can see what that is. But then when you click on it, you will see the clinician notes about those. It will also tell you why these markers matter. So, I mean, You can learn so much from all of this. So as you can see, the information that you get, which I love because it empowers people to have this information, it's pretty thorough. So we put all that together, you get your biological age, then you look at the 11 markers for blood. Again, some of these it will tell you, it also tell your blood type. Some of these it will tell you, hey, you're where are you in the range? You know, sometimes like it does matter if you're these some of these are in the middle of the range. It will show you where you are because sometimes you're in range, but you're close to the edge in a few, and that can factor in. The daily metrics it gets that from my Apple Watch, so you can connect it to your tracking device, and it will put your blood oxygen, your sleep. It'll factor all of that in. It factors all of that in when the clinician looks at your notes too. Here's your electrolyte markers, which some of these blood magnesium, take it or leave it, can be good or bad. Environmental toxins, because there is a urine test associated with this also. So we're looking for that because actually I see high mercury in a lot of people. So it's nice that those are in range. I just had a client that had high mercury. We had to do some heavy metal detox. And then here's the female health, the hormones. Again, it's great that they test all of this. It is not great that there's no progesterone. And this is a menopausal person. So that's why you're not getting an in range, out of range type thing. But it will tell you this person's on bioidentical hormones. And it will tell you that this estradiol is running a little high. And where is the SHGB? This is running a little high, which could mean my body's not necessarily utilizing the free testosterone and the estradiol that it's getting. So like it's a very comprehensive picture here. Now here's your heart markers. So you can see what I'm saying here. Particle numbers, that's high. I mean, this is high. This is not where we want these numbers. This is high. It's above the range. Everything's above the range. Like this is something to keep in mind. And so this has been responded to with a full heart workup. The good news is no visible signs of plaquing, no issues with the ultrasound. But this is something that has to change. We do in functional medicines give it 250 for cholesterol. They still will use 200. Again, it really is these other markers we're looking at. This is the bad cholesterol, but sometimes that's inflammation going on. The person is pattern A, which is the least dense and small particles. So you do want pattern A is a big deal. So you're like, oh my gosh, how do we take this in context for a person? The immediate risk, okay, because that person has had the Western medicine heart workup, is not it's not dire, right? There's a lot of good things in this person's cholesterol profile, but there's a lot of not so good things that we want to reduce. And this is that C-reactive protein. I like to see C-reactive protein under 1. I don't like to see it above 1. And that's a factor. So it's like, it's something we're taking seriously, but it's not a 5-alarm fire. So, but we got to do some things to keep it in line. So this is what I'm saying. You want to catch this before it's a 5-alarm fire. This is another thing that if you do have lipoprotein A tested, right, they will tell you you cannot lower it. This lipoprotein A 3-4 months ago was in the 80s. Oh, and it's lower. So yeah, you can lower it. Even though there is a genetic component to it, you can lower it. So you can see total cholesterol to HDL ratio. That's good. Like there's a lot of good things here, but there's a lot of negative bad cholesterol and inflammation going on. So it requires some watching. Immune markers look good, but there's all your immune markers, kidney markers, liver markers. You're getting all that. Metabolic markers. And now you can learn what these mean. So when they won't test insulin, you can now see that. You can see A1C, you can see fasting glucose, uric acid, leptin is a hunger appetite hormone. So if that's low, you could actually cause yourself to that could cause someone to overeat or crave more food because they're low on that and low on energy. This is really, really important to me also. This is your omega-3 profile is really important when it comes to heart risk also. That's not tested, not usually tested by normal doctors. So you can see that these markers here also very rarely in iron blood work do you see all of these ferritin, iron saturation, iron binding capacity. They are all important when it comes to iron. Homocysteine is also important. That is another inflammatory marker and something that looks at the methylation of B vitamins, which a lot of us have issues with. This used to be higher for me, and I was thrilled to death when my homocysteine got into a normal level. For a long time, it was high, and if I were to take markers that I had in my life in 2021 and put them side by side with 2025, you would say I solved a lot of problems that there were in 2021, but there are some new ones that crop up in 2025. And a lot of that, again, has to do with the hormone component of menopause for women. So the hormone component can have a trickle down in all these markers. But again, when do you ever get to see all this in one place at the same time? Never. But this is the good, like again, the good news is you don't need a doctor to do this anymore. Do you need what I do? Here's what I do for clients. What I will do is I give them a link, a referral link from Function Labs. Function Labs gives me a commission for referring them. Okay. That allows me to then charge the client a smaller fee and help them figure out their supplements and the nutrition plan based on their full picture. Because even though you're putting in a health history, like for instance, when I do my Function Health Labs, they always put a food in there that I don't eat or a food that I'm sensitive to. And so you need someone that can give you the best supplements because there's some bad supplements out there, but also one who can lay out the lifestyle changes to fit your life. Because the AI and the clinician who's plugging in the data, they know a lot, but they don't know everything. So the ones that I've seen, yes, they've got a lot of great information in there. If you went on that by itself, would you be okay? Maybe, but the simple 30 to 60 minute call that we do that situates the supplements and how to take them and what supplements are needed, I've found that that's beneficial. So you can see they do the omega-6s, the omega-3s, which I think is fantastic because it's so important. And the reason why these are all in range is because this person is on an omega-3 supplementation. And so because the normal people who are not taking an omega-3, their omega-3 profile does not look this good. You need to be on a supplement. Anyone over 35, I'm big on it. It's amazing the difference. I haven't seen anyone's omega-3s in range without supplementation. I have not. And I've seen people that eat a fair amount of fish. The only persons who we've seen in range without supplementation is someone who is eating sardines 5 times a week. That's how important an omega-3 supplementation is. And omega-6. So you want to know those ratios. Those ratios are also important to heart risk. So that's the other thing. So that is important too. So then you'll see your zinc, your omega-3 total, which we always want this over 9 with our stuff. So this is really good. Like that's a good thing. And then these are digestive enzymes. Well, how well is your pancreas working? You saw the insulin, that's pancreas, and now you're seeing the amylase and lipase, so you know if someone needs a digestive enzyme, because as you get older, these numbers sometimes get lower. And now we're talking about cortisol. You're only getting morning cortisol, but you're getting DHEA, which is nice. So you are getting a pretty good picture. And then we talked about hormone or thyroid. Here are the thyroid markers I was talking about. That paints, this person's has a good thyroid. I've seen this. It'll look very different when you're just running TSH and free T4. And then if you see this person's, where's the T? Free T3 is a little bit low. So it's just something to keep an eye on, right? So you get that perspective. And then these are the urine markers. Sometimes you will see those leukocytes go a little bit out of range with just a little bit of irritation. That could be anything, but the rest of them being in range. And this one being trace, wouldn't worry about it. If it happens again, then we would talk differently. So I think you can see that it's a very different picture. I'm big on it. And I think it's very, very helpful. So this is one of the reasons why I can tell you that it's a massive undertaking to offer to do 300 15-minute appointments for people to help them figure out their 2026. But I committed to that because this stuff is so important to do. So whether it's talking about this, whether it's talking about someone can do the detox, whether it's talking about someone can do the blood sugar reset, there is literally a level of support that I'm offering for every single person, from free to one-on-one deep transformations to group programming. But this free community has a lot of stuff available to it. So it's just a matter of dedicating the time. Because what are the two things that I hear are the biggest hangups for people? Time, money, right? Those two things. I always tell people, if you don't feel well, do something. I have I don't think my dad's going to watch this, but God bless him. My dad will spend $800 on a Traeger for Christmas and then say he doesn't have the money to run a functional lab. Those two don't equate. They don't equate. So all I'm saying to people is that I think my goal was to try to offer a level of support that any person, no matter where you're at in this journey, can use. And I can help them. And so when I commit to, you'll see an email go out, and gosh knows if it's very frustrating that sometimes my emails don't get to you all because of the way the spam system works. I mean, take advantage of your 15-minute appointment. I mean, I'm just another person to bounce ideas off of, whether you're talking about your health goal planning, whether you're like, this is what's going on. What can I do? What's best for me? To just a person to listen to you for 15 minutes. It makes a difference. And that's what I'm here for. My word for 2026, I don't do resolutions. Most of you know by now, I don't do resolutions. I do words. And that word will infiltrate every area of my life. My word for 2026 is impact. I think this and helping people through this can have a really big impact, because even though the information's there, right, there's still a lot to digest, right? Even if you're clicking on all those markers and seeing what they are, I'm thrilled to death that the information's there. I'm thrilled to death the clinician notes are good, but sometimes you get overwhelmed really easily. Hop on a 15-minute call. It's free. It's free. The community is free. The unfortunate part, again, about the community and the way it works, people don't engage, or people don't like a post. They don't engage with posts. People don't see posts. Unfortunately, I don't know better ways to reach people, but these Zooms are going to happen once a month. And if you have ideas and thoughts, please definitely give them to me. But your homework after this is book the 15-minute call. It's a huge benefit to talk to someone. The other thing is that sometimes someone's got a really good plan and they get on there, and especially with the AI tool, this is what I've seen so far with the people who have done the call, because a good number of people have already done the call. They get on and the AI is so good, right? And they get on and they're like, I've got this, this, and this, and I'm going to do this and this. And how are you going to do that? Okay, I'm going to do this. And you hear it and you're like, this is fantastic. Like, this person's really got this down. They're ready. They're going to be successful in 2026, and I can't wait to cheer them on. And then you know what we do to make sure it happens? I do this daily accountability. It's a text message. It's free. I don't charge for this. It's free. All I do is they text me what they did today. That's it. At the end of the day, they say I did X, Y, and Z. It's accountability. And then I text back what I did. So sometimes what I do might motivate you, and what you do might motivate me. So why not help each other? could we put this, in the group? We could do that too. I've been doing text messages, but what'll happen is when I get like more people doing these text message things, I may have to put it in the group because it does. I'm taking on a lot to do all this for everyone, but I'm pretty passionate that it's going to make a difference, and that's why the word for the year is impact. I'm going to impact everything from you to my family to my business to my dogs to my other job. Everything is impact because that's where I'm at on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's where I'm at. I'm going to work on impacting everything. So, any of you guys have questions? Any questions about any of this? Did it seem fairly clear? And what could the benefits could be of doing this kind of advanced blood work? Any questions? No questions? We sure? Going once? All right. And these things are not meant for me to take the whole time talking. So I definitely hope people will come on these and they'll interact. And then again, like there's going to be another level. So like there has to be something between free and jumping into a, let's say, a group program and a one-on-one journey. There's got to be some other support. So there's another level of support with another online website content area member hub that has exclusive videos, referral programs, and that's another fee, but it's small in the large scheme of things. And I made it a subscription, and people can come and go as they please. So that's what else the 15-minute call is. It's not for me to sell those programs. It's for me to listen to you, tell me what's going on and where you're at. And if there's a way I can support you, I'm going to let you know what it is. That doesn't mean you have to do it, but the community is free. This community is free. So, you can check all these things out. You can ask me more questions about them. But again, I know I'm making an impact already on people's lives, and I'm just going to continue to do that. I have really big ideas, but I try to take care of the people closest to me first, which the people in this group are some of the first people that supported me when I was sick, and some of the people that I've already supported that I want to continue to help support. And then there's going to be a lot of new people coming into the fray. So I unfortunately cannot take too many of the transformative one-on-ones. It's just a lot, and I have to be able to give enough time and space for those clients. And so I cap that at 5 at a time. When those 5 are getting close to the end, I open up slots. But there's always going to be a way that you can be supported. So always have that question. But it's like I said, have the call. There's no obligations at the end of it. You're not going to be handed a contract to sign something or do anything like that. It's just a 15-minute conversation. So book the call with the links that are in your email, and I will talk to you all then.